We've really got four EPs represented. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Look, it's almost 5 past. I think we could probably get started here. So, Michael, you want to get us going? And Quincy, you're recording, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Yep, brilliant. Okay. All right, let me just share my screen because we've got a few or a handful of slides to go through, and then we're going to show you it in action, which I think will help provide a really strong visualization of what we've been working on very hard over the last few months. Okay, so in terms of agenda, Alan's going to give a quick sort of overview. I'm going to give a little insight in terms of what the platform is that sits behind this. Then we're going to see it live. Then we'll explain how these partnerships and the value works and the pricing, and then hopefully we'll have more time spent on Q&A. If we can hold your questions until then, that would be great. Most likely, or hopefully, we'll be answering them as we go. But also, please use the chat. So my name's Michael. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Cultural Infusion. So I work primarily on strategy and how we globalize our platform and services. Quincy, who's my colleague, he's also based here in Australia. It's currently 2 o'clock in the morning. We're used to these meetings when we're trying to incorporate meetings from the Northern Hemisphere. And we're also obviously joined by Alan, co-founder of GDEIB, NIMI, and also Melissa, who does a lot of training through her organization, IDD, with certified practitioners. And Diane may be joining us a little later. She's our other colleague that's based here in Australia. But anyway, it's a real pleasure to show you today what this looks like. All the work that's been done to really take what we've already got, what's faithful to GDEIB, but also create some new opportunities as well, which we think are really important as well. So I'll pass over to Alan, who will give us a quick rationale overview of why we are and where we are today.
Thank you, Michael. So, Anini and I are just absolutely thrilled that the GDEIB has blossomed this year. We finally got it going on the new website, which is www.globaldeeibenchmarks.org. Within the first few months, we had like 700 downloads. We're well over 1,000 now, which is pretty amazing. When we did the analysis, I think we had 53 countries represented. So this is global. The US, I think, was only the second or third on the top. I think Canada actually exceeded all the other countries in terms of downloads. So we know that despite the nonsense and the mega madness in this country, in the States, this is not going away. We're there for the long run. This will still be around when Trump is long buried. So thrilled with the enthusiasm and interest in the GDEIB. Those downloads, of course, are the PDF files, which remain always available and always free. The first thing we did was provide a license to IDD to start the practitioner program. And even there, I mean, Melissa can say a lot more about this, and Nini as well, who sort of shepherded this through. The plan was to have 2 cohorts this year. We ended up, I think, with 5, which means there's an incredible demand for practitioners, internal and external, who want to be able to use the GDEIB. And then we obviously gave a license to Culture Infusion Diversity Atlas to do the digital version, which was also always on our plans to do both certification and digital. Why Cultural Infusion? They had this Diversity Atlas all set up, which is pretty amazing, and you'll see it in terms of the demographics that precede anybody taking the GDEIB. So they were a natural partner for us, having already the whole online engine available to us, to build the digital version of the GDEIB. So I'll stop there, and then we'll get into you seeing it all, and then we'll obviously do lots of Q&A at the end. So back to I think Michael. No, it's Quincy next, right?
And I think it is Michael next, and Diane's messaging. She's about to jump in anyway.
Okay.
Having said that, it looks like Michael's frozen.
Well, maybe we do the demo first and we can come back to the marketing and, the context afterwards. That's one option. Oh, here's Michael.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I'm going to move. The internet is a little bit slow down there. Sorry. Fortunately, there's no one else around at this time of the morning. That's okay. Now, can you still see the same screen?
We're seeing
you're not sharing now.
Yeah, no sharing yet.
anymore.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I've gone from 2 screens to 1 screen. So just hold on a second. So hopefully that's going to work. Hang on. Okay, can you see the full screen again?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, apologies for that. Quick technical interlude. So yeah, as Alan was mentioning, we have it sitting on the platform, but what we've looked at was the opportunity of expanding what's on offer, which digital allows us to do. And Quincy can show you what these look like live in a second. But in summary, there's the full standard version in its current form. We've been faithful to the original. We've created a light version that has a slightly simplified language. Doesn't go into all of the questions. Goes into the main ones. And then we've also created what we're calling a GDI pulse survey, which is really designed for people that don't really understand or know about D&I. So we've really simplified the language around that. And what you can do in that diagram on the right, if you sort of think about it, is you've got these 3 potential cohorts. You've got assessments from the leaders that may be from the standard version. You've got these pulse or light versions that might go out to wider groups or staff in general. And then obviously the consultants. And then you can, through digital, you can start to do these perception gaps between, where leaders think we are, where staff think we are, and where consultants think we are. So it's a really excellent way of looking at different cohorts of people and doing those comparison analysis. So the platform itself that Alan touched on is called Atlas. We spent the best part of 7 years in R&D developing this. This was a platform that started to look and define of what is diversity back in 2015. A 6-month project turned into 7 years because we discovered that nobody had done that work before. But what was also really important is building a platform that complies with all of the local applicable data laws. So it's ISO certified. We've done countless information security audits with clients, some of the biggest tech companies in the world. And it's important because sometimes we don't always think about what experience we're giving people when we ask them to do surveys, be it on an HR system that's not anonymous, or SurveyMonkey, or some of these free tools that don't necessarily comply with local laws. So you can be really rest assured that the platform has gone through a huge amount and ongoing development around privacy and security. And we're here to support it as well, to help through the process. Now, I know this slide is very busy. You'll get a copy of this, and there are some addendum slides as well that cover some of the other detail. But we've really sort of made something amazing even better through the digital capability. So it's really designed to help save people time and really just expand the capability beyond what the PDF can offer, being not digital. You get free comprehensive reports. It really can enhance the impact of data to the work as well. So through these expanded capabilities and these perception gaps, and help really identify priority areas a lot quicker, and new ones as well. And above all, really sort of deepen that insight that is possible. And from a partner's perspective as well, there is a revenue share opportunity with the Atlas, and I'll cover pricing after Quincy's shown us what it all looks like. And because of the trackability, it can provide that sort of ongoing engagement, because people want to know how they're tracking over time. They might have new cohorts through the year as well. So I'll now hand over to Quincy, who can show you what it all looks like. Have we got Diane on the call?
Yeah, Diane's here. So maybe Diane,
fantastic.
want to quickly chat about methodology?
Can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yep.
So apologize for joining late, and my alarm didn't go off, and it's 2 a.m. here. Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things about methodology. So to create sorry, I'm coming into the conversation without the context, but to create the GDEIB digital, one of the things that was challenging that we had to do is take a qualitative assessment, right? It was a long and lengthy qualitative assessment and turn it into a quantitative one. And so that was really a process of taking something that had a lot of thinking and had a lot of concepts in each, sometimes multiple concepts in each question, and turn it into a survey. And so what we wanted to do was a combination of maintaining faithfulness to the old, or not old, but the original GDEIB, but also being responsive to client concerns. And so that's why we created these 3 different models, which I assume we've already talked about. But I wanted to mention that even especially the GDEIB Pulse, that survey was made much simpler. And that's using best practices from APOR, the American Association of Public Opinion Research, because APOR says that we should always put surveys in 5th grade language for readability. And that's not only for readability for everyone of all different education levels, but also because English is not the first language for lots of people. So happy to talk about it more. Again, sorry I came in late, but I'll be here through the Q&A.
Great. Over to you, Quincy. Are you ready to share your screen?
Yep, no worries. Here we go. Can we see that jumping up and down?
Yes.
Great. Okay, what we're seeing here, everybody, is a dashboard, which all our customers have access to, and that includes customers who are doing GDEIB or not doing GDEIB. But this is a dashboard that we've built. It doesn't use Power BI or anything like that, or it's not an off-the-shelf dashboard. It's something that we built ourselves for our Atlas customers. And inside our dashboard, we have a survey library, which includes the original Atlas survey. And just to put some context on that, our survey has 30 questions, and customers can pick which of the 30 they want. And it covers languages, religions, sexuality, gender, all manner of things, which we can talk about some other time. But the general idea is that customers would pick some of our questions and then all of theirs. Now, when I get to that all of theirs moment, what I'm referring to here in a GDEIB context is GDEIB itself. So you'll see here that we've loaded into our survey library all the GDEIB benchmarks. So we've got them all by category. So you'll recognize it all here. If we just go preview, you'll recognize all these benchmarks here from standard. But we've also got the groupings, which we previously called clusters, but we've updated now. So, you know, internal, external, foundational, and so on, where you'll recognize where that's categories merged together to become one big category. But of course, you could do all 275 as well. Now, the light version, which we touched on, that's 2 best practice benchmarks from each of the 15 categories. And so that's an option which leaders can do. In fact, our first pilot customer last week over in the UK only did the light version. So they sent that to 17 leaders within their organization and just did light. But we've also added into our library here, which we've been talking about a little bit, is this Pulse, and it's for staff. It's not for the HR leaders or the C-suite or so on. It's for when you send the survey out to staff. And as you'll see here, it's the benchmarks, but reimagined and simplified. So that very first 1.1 benchmark from category 1, DEI is an important part of the organization strategy. And you can see here just language really simplified so that staff can find it more easy to answer. Now, as for what it looks like when you send it out, what you would do is the customer would create groups of who to send the benchmarks out to. So in this case of this made-up organization, Transshipping, there was a diversity council with 3 people. 2 of them have already done it. Kylie Tran, the CEO, did one. The HR team, 2 of the 5 did it. The D&I manager was just 1 person. And then there was the staff. So there was 30 staff members that did the survey out of the 40 that were invited to do so. And what did they do? Well, over here in survey management, we can see that the Diversity Council just did the foundational grouping. Kylie Tran also did foundational. There was the HR team did internal. The D&I manager did all 275 benchmarks. And then the staff just did the pulse. Now, I'm going to show you what the pulse looks like when they got the survey, because what they did was, when they sent it out to the staff, was add in some of our cultural and demographic questions. And this is important later. So they would generate a survey link, and away we go. So it's not just the GDEIB benchmarks, it's age, gender, position level in the organization, whether they have any medical conditions or any long-term conditions, disability status. Now, all of these are optional, and we have many more that you can pick from: country of birth, nationality, sexuality, and this is all important later. Languages, and mind you, we've got 9,200 languages in our database, and away we go. Now, you'll also see here that we've got options here. So it's not like the GDEIB standards where you just tick the ones that apply. For the pulse, you've got options. So you can say DI is an important part of the organization's strategy, and completely agree to a great degree, somewhat to a fair degree, to a small degree, not at all. Importantly, I don't know, and not applicable as well are also options. And these are also on the light survey as well, all of these options. Now, once we start getting our results in, we see them over here. So we can look at the pulse version for the staff. You can see how they answered all those questions, but also because it was staff and they used some of our cultural questions, you've also got all this extra data in here. So we can see that 30 staff did the survey, and they were from 12 different countries of birth, and you can take a deep dive into the languages they spoke and so on. So it's almost doing a staff D&I survey as well on top of doing the GDEIB. Actually, it was remiss of me. I should have shown you what the actual standard benchmarks look like. So if I just go into this one here. There we go. And as you can see here, this is very faithful to the original GDEIB standard. All the wording's there, and you just tick the ones that apply. You don't tick the ones that don't apply. So all of that is remains the same. Now, once we, as I said, once we get all the results in, which I'll show you what the standard results look like. So we can see 4 people did the foundational grouping, 2 ticked the first benchmark, all 4 ticked the second benchmark, and so on. But once it's all completed and we get the nod, we then will upload a report. And I've already downloaded the report here. So all our customers will receive a report that looks a little like this. Now, in this case, what we did with Transshipping, as you saw, that there was staff did the survey, and then a cohort of leaders did various standard benchmarks. So as Diane touched on, we've moved from a qualitative product into a quantitative for the sake of digitization. And so we've looked across all the categories and we've scored them up to 5. So there was a range of 2.5 to 4. And then when we normalize that across all the categories, this company gets a score of 3.5. And we're very clear on our reports too that these scores need to be validated by consultants. So this is just how they perceive themselves. But we can also see here that the leaders actually rated the company a little bit higher than the staff. So they're at 4.25, staff had it at 3.25. Then we go through all the categories. So we can look at individual categories, how the staff and how the leaders scored the company based on all the categories. And we can see here that in green, category 13 had the highest aggregate, category 6 had the lowest aggregate, and the biggest perception gaps were in work-life integration and connecting D&I with 2.200 perception gap. So that's something that the companies can work on. Now, of course, we've got a summary of the demographic data of the staff that did it. We'll look into all their answers here with normalized scores, which we round off to 0.25. But then, of course, we get to have the fun of looking at this sort of analysis. So the staff ranked the organization at 3.25 after doing their pulse survey. Well, which, mind you, just as a reminder, we also do this with light. So if the staff do light, we'll also do this intersectional analysis, so long as they have the cultural and demographic questions. But we can see here, managers actually scored at the highest. People who spoke English scored it pretty high, above the mean of 3.25. But look down here, people with disability were well below the mean at 1.5. Baby boomers, older people said, no, I'm putting this company at 2.25. Gen X at 2.5, all below that mean of 3.25. And of course, another great piece of analysis we do is this I don't know, which I mentioned we've already had our first pilot organization over in the UK, and they had 17 leaders do the light survey, and there were 4 benchmarks that had over 50% I don't know, and one of them had 67% I don't know the answer to this. So the I don't know analysis is going to be super interesting for all the customers, because it gives them a chance to then teach the participants. Well, if they don't know the answer to this, maybe they should know the answer, and that's up to us to then educate our staff on where we're at with this particular GDEIB benchmark. So I'll stop there. Happy to take any questions. That's in it in a nutshell, but I would like to say that if anybody wants a one-on-one tour, just reach out, send me an email, and happy to meet up with you anytime, and we can go through it slowly, bit by bit. But we've had our first successful customer start last week, our first pilot customer, and we've got another 4 starting in the next couple of weeks. So as the case studies come in and all the trials come in, there will be a little bit of finessing over the next month or so, but pretty much technically it's ready to go. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Quincy. And just to round that off, the process looks like this. The partner at the left will introduce the client to us. Often they're going to want to see what this looks like before they make a decision. So we're happy to demonstrate what it all looks like, show them how it works, comfort them with the information security side, all those type of aspects. Then the client will hopefully subscribe to the digital platform. The partner receives a commission, and then the onboarding starts. And we're there really to help the client all the way through the process, and the partner can be part of that or not part of it. It really depends, but we'll obviously inform the partner along the way with what happens. So we typically kick off with what we call the discovery session to really understand expectations and really get these key decision steps here. Who are you going to survey? When are you going to survey them? What are you going to choose in terms of assessments and surveys? Is there a mix? And what are the options that you're going to look at in GDEIB? Which groupings, standard, light, pulse, combination, all those types of things. And then with the Atlas questions that Quincy touched on then as well, what does that look like? And they can switch on, they can add other questions if they want. So the whole thing is completely customizable if what is available there, which is very broad, doesn't meet their needs. Then obviously once we've gone live, because the dashboard's real time, they can start sharing real time results. And we found that really helps pick up participation rates as well. Once the survey's finished, the assessment's done, the partner or the client tells us, and then we generate that report that Quincy just showed you. So that's the concluding piece. And then obviously the change plan carries on from that. And then hopefully there's that renewal process. And then the next year we can start to compare year on year results. And then just to quickly touch on the pricing, it's what we call a software as a service type pricing that's based on organization size. So the larger the organization is, then the more in terms of the overall price. There's a lot that's included with this. All the reporting, all that automated real-time dashboard reporting, all the security, these extra Atlas core questions that we've included as part of it as well. And as I mentioned before, we're here to support it. But you can kick off with a small intro package. If there's a handful of people that want to do an assessment, maybe it's just the leaders. You can see that here at 2,500. And then for the organization, it scales up from 2 to 1,000 people to 5,000 plus. We basically open to work out what a price is, because budgets are all over the place. So that's how the pricing works. And now be fantastic to get your feedback. If anybody wants to get in touch, I put some of the emails there on the right hand side. And we can obviously put them in the chat as well, because I think we'll stop the screen and take questions. I know there's a few hands up as well.
Yep, we got 3 in a row. So I think Farah, you first.
Thank you very much, Alan and Michael and team. Firstly, congratulations on all the work that you've been done, Alan, Nene, all the original expert panelists, obviously you're the founders. How wonderful to see this next iteration and evolution of GDEIB. So all credit to you to retain the heritage, but then to build on it and make sure that it's fit for purpose for our global clients, etc. is a wonderful moment to be able to perceive. My question is around, I'm just putting myself in the place of my clients, and of course I might even know the answer to this question, but I still want to ask it anyway. So obviously I'm conscious that 92 expert panelists, years and years of expertise, a global team, 5 or 6 iterations of the GDEIB, that's what gives it its unique selling point. If you were then to compare that to companies like Culture Amp and Gallup and etc., what are we positioning as the unique selling point of the GDEIB? How are we going to and I might have already answered my question, by the way, and if I have, let me know. But if I haven't, how are we going to be able to position this as more and beyond what is actually out there at the moment? So just a question for anybody that might want to answer.
I might just jump in quickly there, because I mean, Culture Amp is another Australian organization that's been very successful. We're very familiar with Culture Amp. And look, it's a big question. I'll sort of touch on it because it is something that does come up. And in fact, a lot of our clients use Culture Amp. I think the real difference is what it is that they're trying to achieve. And for our clients, and I think, definitely GDEIB clients, it's organizations that want to do more. If they just want to tick boxes, if they just want to do basic reporting, then they're going to use these systems that aren't effectively purpose-built. The other thing with Culture Amp is it's not a truly anonymous platform, it's confidential. So gathering sensitive information, particularly that demographic and cultural data, is always problematic when information is confidential. And people generally don't share as much information. So it's always limited. It was never built to really engage in more sensitive areas. It primarily was built to measure engagement, which just about every organization in the planet does. It was never built to really do a deep dive and thorough dive into, very important areas like DEI.
Thank you.
I can just quickly add.
Sorry,
yeah, I mean,
please, Alan.
Well, the GDEIB is really positioned as the sort of de facto standard globally for best practices. And because of that, the digital version is being, faithful to it and is building on that. So, the proof will be in the pudding, but we do think that this will really take off and continue to grow as the standard globally. Yeah.
And one more, Farah, can I?
Let Nina go,
also?
Yeah.
You know, if
Yes,
I
please.
look at some of the questions that we sometimes got, and I know Karen and Melissa are here, that you know, I was spearheading the certification part of it. If we look at the questions that often are asked, and it's a question we haven't asked, but it's linked, people would ask that, how can we rely on this tool? How scientific is this tool? You know, there'll be questions like that. And we are very, from the beginning, we've been very clear that if you are looking for an academic, scientific tool, this is not it. The good thing about GDEIB, it's a consensus model. And the benefit of having 112 plus the 3 co-authors is that you have the benefit of people who were sharing their lived experience in their various countries at a practical level to say, yes, we have the theory, but this is what we have observed and are going through in our organization. So, and people have seen that indeed does add the difference with regards to how different is it from everything that is out there. And yeah, so we have said you have the benefit of those 112 lived experiences of practitioners in different countries. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And just to follow on as a suggestion, and you may already have done this, but I'm just once again putting myself in the shoes of potential purchasers, is thinking about the sales pack for GDEIB and maybe having some FAQs. I'm sure you've done that for certification as well, because I think that would help. And really, you know, because once again, these are some of the value adds of all of the years of expertise and effort that you've put in, and many others too. So yeah, just wanted to lead with that question. Thank you so much for your responses, and once again, huge congratulations. So excited to be part of this next stage of the journey through global diversity practice and also through inclusion in intelligence. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Farah.
My hand is raised not as a co-author, but I'm asking now as a consultant. So Quincy, I want to check whether I heard you correctly. The first part, that in those people who tested, did you have those who tested like the full version? And if the answer is yes, did you get any comments from them that it was tedious to go through all the 200 and whatever, or how were their response after they took the full version of the not the light version? That was my first question. The second question, I don't know, both of you and Michael and maybe Diane, and I'm asking this from a perspective of South Africa and from some of our clients, that there has been some, from a security point of view, some of our, especially banking clients, have said how there is no way we can go, or rather, they found it uncomfortable to go through, let's say, a website of a different organization in order to complete a survey. In fact, most of our clients for our different surveys, they've said, come and upload into meet with our IT, meet with our security thing. We've got very strict security regulations here with regards to surveys. So I just want to ask that from Australia and the US, that do you find similar concerns from clients? Because if they have to complete this and they go through the Atlas website to search for this, I know I'll have to go through that bridge with my clients. As I said, I'm not asking as a co-author now, I'm asking as a consultant. Have you come across, are there such concerns in your different countries?
Yes, we've worked in South Africa quite a bit, and all around the world. We've worked in 44 countries. As Michael and I always like to boast, we worked with Cisco, who invented this data security, and we passed their security things. So Michael touched on that word anonymous, and I'll re-emphasize that now, Nini. Our tool is anonymous, properly, wholly. We do not collect identifiable information, personal identifier information. We don't collect IP addresses. We can't tell the customer who's done the survey, who hasn't. So it's one of the only truly anonymous data collection platforms on the planet. And it's true to say that that's why a lot of customers will come to us, not necessarily for GDEIB, but for Atlas itself and some of the other products that we've got within the dashboard. We're ISO certified, we're GDPR compliant, and so on. But you're right, Nini, all the companies around the world now have these concerns, and we're used to dealing with the IT departments of these big organizations and sitting down with them and doing weeks and weeks of data security checks, but we pass them all. It's something that we take a lot of pride in, our data security. But in answer to your other question, your first question, the only live pilot we've had with an actual organization so far, they just did light version. So we haven't had anybody
for the full version. Okay.
Yeah, 275, but we're about to in Australia. Diane's working with a company who I think there's only a handful of them, only 4 people are going to be doing all 275. And so we'll look forward to getting their feedback.
Okay, good. Thanks.
But we did, Quincy, get some feedback about the wording even on the light version, right? And that was one of the things that prompted the Pulse version.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Nina, I should also mention, after a few minutes, a little thing pops up on the thing saying you can save this and continue later. So you don't have to do all 275 in one shot. You can save it and come back to it.
And some people divide it up into different groups as well, which can be done. So one person might do everything, but the marketing team might do external, another team might do another section, and then it will just aggregate all of those results.
Hey, they used to do the paper version, the whole thing on paper.
All right.
So this must be way easier, actually.
Yeah.
Can we get to Karen? She's been waiting. Go ahead.
Yes. So again, congratulations, everyone. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this. So I'm going to ask this question from the perspective of a consultant, somebody who would probably engage with an organization to do this survey and then potentially work with that organization afterwards around developing a strategy based upon what we learned, right? So I'm wondering if there is a place and a space within this platform as it exists that we can also collect, extant information, resources, like, particular, policy on something, or, some other materials that, we could review in conjunction with responses that we've gotten from that. So in other words, basically what I'm saying is, repository or resources that
Evidence.
that we could so that's easy to then just match. That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So currently at the moment, Karen, that technology doesn't exist within our platform to upload evidence. Right. For us, we're data people, we're data nerds. We're doing scoring. So we've taken, as Diane touched on, these qualitative brilliant product, GDEIB, that's been around for all these years. And Nini, we can't compete with the paper version when it comes to just standard. It's still a bit easier to do it on the paper because you can flip back 3 pages and go, oh, hang on, what did I put here? So we've brought our survey methodology and data science into this, but the evidence for now is still really the responsibility of the consultant. And that's why we're really clear on our scoring. This has to be validated by your consultants. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And you don't want the
it does
information.
open up. Oh, sorry. It does open up also questions about the platform. If information security, and we do audits on people doing assessments, but if you're uploading sensitive information, that's another layer on top. But look, we're really open to see what we can do here. Maybe there's just a sort of validation box that a consultant can complete. So we've got a few ideas about how we might be able to track or confirm that it's been done. But for this first iteration, it's pretty comprehensive. But just to sort of explain our process, we're agile development, so we're constantly developing our platform all the time. So feedback about what you'd like to see, other features, etc. Keep it coming, because that's what really keeps us alive, is seeing what customers want.
Let me add, it's on our radar, Karen, for the future,
Okay.
because if down the road, as we build up the database, it may be comes a point in time where we've got enough in the database where your company wants to find out how are we doing against our comparators.
Right.
For that to happen, only the aggregate scores, certainly not the dirty laundry with all the demographic slices and dices, but the aggregate scores can then be posted to compare. But there, when we get a company claiming they're at level 5, you know, they best practice, we would need to have some sort of audit to verify, you know, externally that there's evidence to confirm that you're at level 5. Yeah. But that's down the road.
I purely asked the question just from the perspective of how is it that, you know, as a consultant working with a company, I could be useful in helping them to develop strategy and then being able to decipher what is a matter of a lack of communication about a particular policy that's in place, as opposed to the non-existence of that policy as it relates to any of those. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because we found with some of these benchmarks that people say, oh, you know, we're not aware of this. And the truth, the fact it exists. It's an issue that it has not been socialized across the organization. So that says we need to do something. That strategy will be around how is it that we socialize it to embed it. Yeah.
I mean, that's what the whole purpose of this is. We're not doing measurements for the sake of measurement. We're doing measurement to find out where are we currently? Where do we want to go? How do we get there? What are the variances? And that's the beauty, by the way, comparing the paper version to the digital. The digital can do the slice and dices automatically across the demographics. So if you can now find out that men see it this way and women see it that way, and there's a big variance in scores on leadership or on communications or on any of the categories, that's fascinating. And of course, the more demographics you have, the more detailed and deeper your analysis goes, and you get all that subtlety, you know, which is what, you know, Diversity Atlas provides. Yeah.
One other question that I have, Quincy, purely remembering the rigorous questions I went through with one of our clients. They wanted to know how long, again from a security, how long are you going to keep our information on your platform? Like tell us, you need to tell us now, how long is this going to be on your platform? Have you gotten questions like that? And what is your answer?
Yep. So when the customers license the product, they get a 1-year license. So it's at least for a year. But with GDPR compliance, for instance, and anyone at any point, because the customer still owns their own data, it's their dashboard, and they can ask us to delete all their data, and we'll do so within 48 hours. So that's standard compliance. I mean, to be honest, we could probably do it in about 2 or 3 hours, but it's officially 48 hours. But as for customers that have no interest in us wiping our data, I mean, we gain their permission to use their data just for benchmarking against other companies. So it's all anonymized, but, you know, we hope to be able to say after a year, you're at 3.2, but the country average is 3.5, or the industry average is 3.4, and what have you. So it's just permission to be able to use their data to just bring that industry or region score. And then we'll keep it for, I believe it's up to another year. But what happens with a lot of customers, they say, no, definitely don't wipe it because we'll be back in 2 years' time.
Yeah, they want to compare the scores.
Dashboard, and because they want to compare how they were 2 years ago to now. And if we wipe it, they'll lose that comparison. So that was a long answer just to say we wipe it when we're told to.
Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted. It's based on permission, on talking with the client and having an agreement. That's how long. Okay, because others have a standard that we keep it for 3 years. After 3 years, it's out. So yeah,
I think we default to 2, but we will. But we contact the customers if we're coming up to that 2-year period and saying, would you like us to wipe it? And most often they say, oh no, keep it there. We're coming back one day. Yeah.
Cool.
Good. We've got about 10, 12 minutes. Anyway, any other questions? Anyone else that I'm not seeing any hands?
You have a question in the chat from Tina, one of our certified practitioners.
What's the question?
What's the question? I'm looking for it, yeah.
It says it's in a very exciting milestone. A couple of questions. Is the tool adaptable to customize language for different companies? or organizations? For example, the use of the term staff versus team members. That's the first question.
Yeah.
I'm just reading out, and that's from
everything
Tina.
is customizable. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, the position. So yes, the
Yeah,
position
and
levels, the customers put their own position levels in there. So they tell us, you know, if we're working with the military, they get to put in private, corporal, general, and what have you. So customers put in their own position levels. You can even adjust. You know, we've worked in Saudi Arabia where they looked at our gender lists and said, no, you're not going to have transgendered on that list, and so on. So we can customize some of the answers. And as well. So all of it's customizable. And as far as doing it in other languages, our questions come in 14 different languages. So we've got Arabic, Chinese Mandarin, Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese, French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Croatian. But GDEIB itself, Alan, I always forget which two. We've got Spanish and...
We've got Spanish, French, and we're about to launch Portuguese.
Portuguese.
So, so we will have 4 languages by the end of the year, English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese, yes. And then we'll get to your next 10. We want to get there next year. Yeah.
We can always
Tina had a second...
my language.
Tina had a second question. Would you like me to read that out, or can you see it now, Alan?
Yeah.
Nene?
Did the development team explore the use of the acronym instead of spelling out DEI? I mean, we use DEI all over. It's part of our, you know, the what the GDEIB is called. I'm not sure, you know, is that within the text? I don't remember. I mean, I think we spell it out where appropriate, and we abbreviate as needed. I don't recall, unless we have an example, but yes, we do use DEI often. Yeah. And I see Peter's with us and has a question.
Yeah, it looks like our CEO is on the call.
Yeah, welcome.
Makes me a bit nervous.
Yeah, so this is Tina. I wanted to provide a little bit more context to the second question. And I was just curious, as you all are global experts in this space, and I think you all shared that the tool right now is being used all over the country, all over the world, 53 countries, with the US being in the top 3. And so there's a obviously implied opportunity for the US to continue to lead the pack in potentially using this digital tool as well. And so when you think about the current landscape, regardless of what the future might hold, there has been a lot of conversation around the acronym itself and not necessarily spelling out the words. So I was curious, you know, there is research. I'm not sure if you all have seen it yet, but there is research specifically within the US that has shared how much more receptive folks are to the words and the principles behind the words and using the actual words, diversity, equity, inclusion. So I was just curious as to if you all had that conversation, what came of it, and is there an opportunity? Is there a need? Who knows? I think, you know, different perspectives depending, but it was definitely worth getting you all's thoughts on.
Yeah, Tina, it's a really good question, and it's easily adjustable. We can just change the wording for US at any point.
But we're not planning to change the title of the GDEIB. I mean, we think we will outlive the MAGA madness, so we are sticking with it. Of course, in other countries, you've got all these other variations, EDI and DEIB, and, you know, so yeah, I mean, we're comfortable with all of these variations, but we're not giving up on the DEI acronym and spelling it out. Yeah, I mean, we know what D means, we know what E means, we know what I means, and we're sticking with it. So, and Nini, you may want to add to that. I'm not sure. And then we've got to get Peter in here.
Yes, yes. Before Peter comes in, just to say, you know, Tina, I'm glad you've asked that. Funny, Mirafi and I were in a workshop just today, and that came in. What we're finding is that there's an activist approach and a cautious approach, generally. Yes. And the activist approach says, we are not going to cow down because of one country saying this and this and this. I'm just talking at a broader level. Therefore, we will call it what we have been calling it. However, even within, giving an example of my own country, even within here, we do have those who are more cautious, who are saying, you know, there are other implications. There are people, for example, who rely on funding. If you call it DEI, therefore maybe you could tweak without changing the content. You can just tweak in terms of the acronym. So every time I can always say, for me, I'm coming across the 50% who are saying, just because people say we must tweak it, we are not. But others who are saying, you know, the reality, we need to look at how, you know, and at a later note, I was watching an interview. Somebody was asking, it was on CNN, somebody asked, what does DI mean? Do you know the person didn't know? He was saying, we don't want DI. And they say, what does DI actually mean? She didn't have a clue what it means in full. So sometimes, yes, the catchy, that acronym sometimes triggers people without necessarily knowing deep down what it means. So, but anyway, in short, I was saying we see that the activist answer and the answers that are more cautious to say, let's look at being more inclusive to those countries that are impacted by what is happening.
And just from a data perspective, globally engagement is falling. If you look at Gallup, so we're good at measuring engagement, but people are disengaging from the workforce. And we've surveyed close to 1 million people in 44 countries, and 86% of those people support D&I initiatives. So people in companies think it's a good idea. Same for Gallup, same for Glassdoor. If you look at all the stats, there's strong support for it. So sure, there's this segment of people who are obviously trying to create disruption around it, but people in jobs, people in companies, people running companies still think the elements are important.
Peter.
Yeah, thanks. Can I just say, it's just wonderful to see so many people on this call. I think I've, you know, seeing numbers fluctuate between 23 and 27. Hi, Melissa. I don't think I've met you, Neen. It's great to see you again. Hi, Karen. I think we've met once before. Farah, I did try to meet with you. I'm in Dubai at the moment. I'm at the airport and I'm about to leave, but I'm coming back the end of January, early Feb. So I'll be here for about 2 weeks. I hope we can connect then. I think, Nina, you made some really great points around the language. A lot of the language that and some of the discussions I've been having just over the last few days here last week is people starting to talk about this concept of MEI. I don't think we should be going there, which is basically replacing diversity, equity, and inclusion with merit, excellence, and intelligence. And I think that's quite problematic. I do think there is going to be quite a large reframe of the language that we use around this, and we haven't yet settled on what that language is going to look like. I think in the next 6 months to 12 months, as people start to embark on research, there may be some tweaking. And, you know, in our instance, we had to change our language, you know, of our platform, because we called it Diversity Atlas, and it was just problematic. We just had millions of dollars of just contract cancellations. And, you know, I had the managing director of Accenture calling me in midnight telling me that, we're sorry, we can no longer work with you anymore because your organization's been one of the 100 organizations that's been singled out. And if we work with you, we're going to lose contracts. So there's a reality out there, and it means survival. So in our instance, we've had to change the language, and I think all for the better. You know, for us, it's about sort of consolidating it into the overall brand of our organisation. I don't think the word diversity is going to ever go anywhere. I mean, it's ubiquitous. It's a given. It's what really defines every aspect of who we are, and then of course, you know, how we address, you know, the other letters of the acronym, equity and inclusion. I think forever and a day, people are always going to want to make societies fairer, and they're always going to want to make people feel more included. So I think there may be different words that we use for this, but only time will tell. I'm at the airport. There's probably a lot of background noise here. I do apologise for being a few minutes late. I got caught at the gate, and it's wonderful to see so many faces here. And I think Rika's here too. Did I see her?
Yeah, Rika is here.
Rika Salona. Yeah, okay, so that's great.
I am here. Yes.
Everyone. Okay,
Hi,
you.
Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Peter, congratulations for you and your team for this amazing, amazing achievement. I am so impressed what you have developed. So thank you very much. BCT Partners has been the other organization that digitized GDEIB, but we digitized it mostly for consulting purposes. So it's not available publicly for organizations to just go on the platform. And I'm so impressed what you have created. I absolutely love it.
Well, thank you very much for that vote of confidence, Rika, and credit to my team that's here tonight, because it's 2 o'clock in the morning, or 3 o'clock in the morning almost. So, thank you, Diane. Thank you, Michael Romsley and Quincy. And this is a team effort. And, thank you to Alan Victor, where we started to, have these conversations about a year ago. So thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for doing this. I'm going to make one last comment, and that's to Tina. I speak quite a lot with lawyers in the US, and the DEI terminology, it's not diversity that the government is so concerned about, because it's a given. I mean, how can they deny that? And nor can they deny inclusion. That the attack is on equity. And that's where the whole, I mean, if you talk about fairness, their notion of fairness is very, merit-based, as if there's no, unearned advantages and and all that other stuff. They don't get the big picture about that. But that's where the legal battle is. It's around the term equity in this country. This is all going to disappear once the regime is gone. That's for sure. So.
Yeah. So, Alan, can I just speak to that? I had a day of meetings in Paris at UNESCO, United Nations Education, Science and Cultural Organization, and they've just had $250 million, just taken away from them by the US administration. And I asked her, what was the reason for this? Because I always thought it was, UNESCO being seen as being anti-Israeli bias. And this goes back quite a bit of time, all the way to, Obama, and then Trump came along and, started to take punitive action against them. What came out of that discussion was they were totally against the intercultural unit and the word inclusion. So they're after a whole lot of words. So they've just said, no, because you use the word inclusion, you're all about inclusion, we're not giving you any more money. And they've just taken away $250 million a year, I think it was, they said, or was it 4 years? No, every year. So, I mean, this is having serious impact across the globe. And, Trump is here, for another, hopefully the midterms will start to change things. And there may be some other incidents that see his demise, sooner than later. But the reality is that you've had organizations like the Manhattan Institute, whom I've been in touch with, well before Trump was elected. And they had made it very clear to me that, they were going to dig really deep. They'd been preparing these executive orders, and that as soon as Trump was going to be elected, and they were so confident that he was going to be elected, and of course that was sort of confirmed from discussions with AWS, that as soon as he came in, he just went boom like a knife. I mean, it was just so bizarre, But I'm hoping things are going to swing back. I just wanted to share that with everyone and just give you some of the other conversations that I'm hearing across the globe. Thanks.
Okay.
And I just want to say thank you so much for you all sharing your perspectives and the conversations and what you're seeing globally. There's going to be, differences. There's going to be commonalities as well, specifically within the U.S. What I love to know as fact is, there's an overwhelming majority of folks that live within our country, within the U.S. specifically, that support the principles behind all three of them, including equity, right? They're going to have some that, there continues to be some that don't understand. And I think you all spoke to that as well. And there's an opportunity to continue to educate and provide clarity. But I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate you all sharing the dialogues that you all have had as a team with other clients across the globe, as we continue to obviously see the value that comes from diversity, equity, and inclusion. So thank you again. I know we're at time, so I'm going to have to drop. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've reached the end of our hour.
Very last question. Very last question. When we did the paper version, where people had to go through the whole thing, there were some organizations that wanted to see their logo on the cover, whatever. So I just want to ask that if you come across a client that wants to see their logo in the digital version, is it possible? Is it something you could look at or not?
Our testing over the years suggests that if you do put the logo on on a survey, the recipients have less trust in it. They think it's then connected up with the HR system.
Okay.
It's better to look like it's the third party with the anonymous ISO security is doing this.
Great. No, thanks.
Never say no. Never say no, but we would actually advise against it.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And
So
so
with
I
the
know
report, they
we're
can
out of
add their
time.
logo if they want.
Margie, I know you've got a very big question in there as well that's quite profound, and maybe we don't really have time to answer it. But as far as ensuring this platform becoming a living resource, I think that's, yes, the next evolutionary step to work out, after a year or so of gathering up the data, we're going to have a collective intelligence that we've gathered. What can we do with that? And I think that would be the next conversation to have, Margie, but sometime next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in terms of next steps, again, as we've mentioned, we'd love your feedback. There's probably more questions you might have. We know there's a lot to digest. We've just gone, bang, here this thing is that we've been working on it for many weeks. And it's the first time you've seen it. So thanks for the feedback and the appreciation of what's involved. These things are never as easy as they seem to start with. So yeah, please keep your feedback coming. If you'd like a deeper dive, please get in touch. We're happy to really go through the platform in more detail, because there are so many different features in there. But more importantly, hear about the work that you're doing. What is it that you think would make it better, or perhaps you've got specific customizations that you're thinking. So that feedback is so critical. And I think, Farah, you mentioned sort of sales material. So over the next 2 days, you'll get a copy of the deck that we went through today, but there are also other slides that talk more about the kind of overall business value that we put together. There's a more detailed comparison between the PDF version and the digital version, if there's other people who've got more questions around that. And again, we'd love feedback on that material. So happy to create more, refine what we've got. It's very much a starting point, but just we're behind you. We really want to see your work succeed, and we can just play this important data role. I think is Alan there? Because he disappeared and came back.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
My computer died. I'm on my phone now, but I'm hearing you. Yeah.
So I think we're ready to wrap up, Alan.
Good. Okay. Great session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.